Hey YouTube land, Tyconners here with once again another action figure review. Now this is something I dug out recently. I'm hoping to do a showcase on both series of figures, as there is a very short run of figures. There's series 1, which is one of the figures I'm going to look at today, and there is series 2, which is based on the sequel follow-up game that this line is based on. Now, if you're not familiar with these, back in 1997, I want to say, that's when these were, 1998, Toybiz released a video game series, Superstar series, and one of the sub-series of that lineup was Resident Evil. I think they also did a Capcom line as well, or was a Capcom versus line. I think it was SNK versus Capcom was the line that they did. Now, I do have everything for Wave 1, or Series 1, which is what this is. So I'm going to kick things off with one of the few that I have a box for. I thought I had kept the boxes for everything, but unfortunately I haven't. I only have boxes for 2 of the figure sets, one of which is this one, which, as you can see, clearly has seen better days. But this is, if I bring in the contents, the Resident Evil first original video game, which I think was released in 93, 94. I think it was a while before they did any figures for it. I could be wrong, but I'm sure it was, the game came out way before these figures were released. And if you're a fan of the video game franchise from Japan, it was called Biohazard, which is Capcom I wouldn't say re-released it, but they rebranded it for the European and US market as Resident Evil. So if I flip around to the back of the box, we get a selection of all the figures in this wave, which is Series 1. So you had Cerebus with Chris, the Web Spinner with Jill, which is the one I'm going to review. There is an 8-inch Deluxe Tyrant, which I have. There's the Chimera and the Hunter. Now, at the time of this recording, I'm still trying to find where the Hunter is. I have the Chimera from the 2-pack. I cannot find the Hunter. I know I used it. I had it a while back. I was using it for some photography stuff. So I do know I still have it. I'm just not sure where it's been put. And then there's the Forest Spire and Maggot Zombie set. So that's it for Series 1. And if I bring in the card, now I'm going to move my camera back a bit so I can bring the card more into alignment. Hopefully you can read this. So it basically says, Jill Valentine's the star's explosive expert, is brave, cunning, and a master lockpick. She's able to gain access to secret rooms throughout the mansion. Armed with a bazooka, Jill descends into the laboratory, ready to confront the evil that lies in wait. The Web Spinner's umbrella's designation for the enhanced oversized spiders who spit poison to immobilize their victims. The Web Spinner can release dozens of offspring, ravenous baby spiders that seek the nearest life force for nourishment. Jill will need to rely on her quick wits and sharpshooter skills to stay out of Umbrella's evil's web. And then above that, there's also a write-up for the video game. So, a remote mansion located in the forest outside Raccoon City has become a sprawling ground for a host of evil denizens, the results of bizarre biotechnological experiments. The mysterious Umbrella Corporation, the mastermind behind the experiments, has set up a state-of-the-art laboratory under the mansion where scientists have isolated the toxic mutagen known as the T-virus and have spliced human DNA with that of other creatures, creating horrific crossbreed monsters in an effort to construct the ultimate unstoppable soldier. What has resulted from the experiment is a host of twisted, genetically altered evil creatures who prey on human flesh to sustain their own unnatural life. The town of Raccoon City summons the covert paramilitary unit known as STARS, or Special Tactics and Rescue Squad, who are sent into the forest to investigate recent unexplained disappearances. Once in the forest, the STARS members stumble upon the mansion and must confront the evil creatures that dwell within. So, that was a good bit of a write-up. What's interesting to note as well, on the back of the box, they actually show a prototype of the figure, and it also gives a rocket launcher shoots projectile. Press down the lever on Jill's back to raise her left arm to turn her head, and hit the web spinner's head to activate the spider attack. Now, we'll see if we can get that done on screen. It probably won't work the way I wanted to, but we'll try and do that. So, for her weapon, actually I'm going to move the box out of the way to make things a little easier. For her weapon, she comes with the flamethrower, which is kind of ironic because it looks more like a bazooka. The weapon that Chris comes with is this, and this looks more like a flamethrower because it has the canister underneath, whereas this looks more like the bazooka. But it's been a while since I played the original version of the game. Now, the original version came back way back when, and on the PlayStation 1. At least that's my first memory of it. It could even predate that, but that was my first introduction to Resident Evil, was renting it for the PlayStation 1 back when video game rentals were a thing. So she can hold the bazooka or the flamethrower in her hand. Now, unfortunately, her weapon raising thing is not the best over time. So the idea was, there is a lever on the back. In fact, if I do it without the weapon in her hand, she'll probably do it a lot better. So there is a lever in her back. I'm just going to move my camera back into place. Bear with me a moment. So there's this lever in the back. So at the default position is up. So when you move it up and down, it would move her head and move her arm, and it was supposed to simulate her moving the rocket, keep calling it rocket launcher, but it's not. It's a flamethrower into position. It's not the best of actions. You can still move the head and the arm without doing the feature. She has a single jointed elbow. Detailing wise, these are very, I wouldn't say detailed, they're very minor detailed figures. The sculpting wise is not the best on them. Even when the Series 2 figures came out, in fact, if I just grab one of the Series 2 figures without knocking everything over, that was me dropping the Cerebus. No, I didn't get all the Series 2 wave. I do have the Claire Redfield figure. You can see they actually got the figures a little bit, mine's a bit on the dirty side, needs a good cleanup. But proportion wise and the looks of the characters are a lot better done for the second wave or second series than these ones. This is the Jill Valentine one. Looks very, very nondescript would probably be the best way to describe her. And if I can just bring in Chris, the Chris figure, you see his head is very kind of low resolution, kind of polygon style head. He has a knife that's supposed to be up here on his chest, which has fallen off, but I'll get into that when I get around to his review. This one is for Jill. So detailing wise, she's not the best facial sculpt. It could have done a lot better. As I said, the Claire Redfield one looks way better. Never had Leon, so I'm not sure how bad or good he looks. Other articulation points, other than the head being on a swivel, the waist rotates. She has a fairly plain kind of sculpt to the body. She has these lines running down the chest. She's wearing a shirt. She has these armor pads on her shoulders. She's wearing kind of, I would imagine these would be the police style kind of, slacks sort of thing. And then she has combat boots on. They don't seem to have like the extra side pockets like combat trousers or anything like that. They seem to be very plain. So she does seem to have that. Her legs do move forward. Now, unfortunately, you can't get a really good seating position. Thankfully, there was no vehicles or anything released in this line. She does have a pocket kind of pouch thing glued onto her side. Like, you can't make her look like she's running in a ridiculous pose. She does have a single jointed knee. She has an actual ankle articulation, which is interesting, kind of rare for a figure of its time. In fact, if I can just bring in another Toybiz figure from around this era, which I found while I was cleaning. This is the Scott Summers from the X-Men, old X-Men line. So you can see the figures are around the same height. So this was a kind of a 5.5. In fact, if I bring good old tape measure in, these did stand around the 5.5 inch mark. So they were bigger than G.I. Joe's. So, which was the downside to this line as well. I think if they'd kept either the scale close to G.I. Joe scale, or, well, Marvel Legends weren't around at that time, but if they had the Marvel Legends style scale as well, they probably would have done better. But that said, I'll move Scott out of the way. Ooh, he's probably going to fall off somewhere, so we'll put him out of the way. Oh, she does have peg holes on the bottom of her feet, and she has manufacturing date stamps on that as well. So she does stand reasonably well as long as you can get the feet into that right position. She does have her rocket launcher, which does fire a rocket. Well, flamethrower that fires a flame jet. Now, I have found that when you're putting this in, it doesn't want to go in all the way. You have to press down on this first, then put it in, and then it kind of locks into place. She can hold it in her hand, either hand. Her arms are on kind of a ball joint. They do tend to pop off, especially figures like Chris I've had, and I have the Hunk figure, which actually reuses the Chris body, so it tends to pop out. In fact, even Claire's arms tend to pop off as well. You can see the weight of the actual launcher is so heavy, it actually just makes the arm droop the minute you have it. And unfortunately, the arms are not articulated in such a way that you can give her a two-handed pose, which is, again, a shame. But the web spinner is a pretty neat looking thing. Now, I do have its accessories inside, so we'll see if we can get this action feature to work the way it's intended. So detailing wise, I'll just spin it around, no pun intended. Detailing wise, it is basically a giant spider. It has these cool pinchers, they're non-movable, it has all the eyes. In fact, I think these are supposed to be eyes as well. It's kind of hard to tell which ones are supposed to be the eyes. But it has like this really nice paintwork done. It's actually surprisingly well painted for its age, or for its time period. A lot of companies would have probably just left these legs completely red and then left off the airbrushing kind of effect. So it is kind of nice that they did detail it. Now let's see if we can get this action feature to work. I'll see if we can do it on screen, if you can see this. There is a button right here on this black section which looks like it has all the eyes. So yeah, it did hit, didn't actually do anything. So let's line up Jill. Just get her. So the idea was, if this thing springs open, hopefully this will work on screen with my finger in the way. So the way it works is you press the button and it flings these little critters, little spider critters out. It comes with two of these. They are very easily lost, so be careful. They're just made of a rubbery style plastic, so they do tend to get lost easily. Now, if you play the video game, if you're familiar with the video game, normally what would happen is when you killed the web spinner or the big giant spiders, these things would crawl out around the ground, and if you stayed in the same spot, they'd attack your character, or if you just ran into another room, went back, they would disappear. So, but you have this interesting detailing on the inside of this section where it actually launches. You have it. The way to reset it is you set that down first. Now, the best way I found, there's no detailing in the upper section of this, but if you can fit these in up this way and ball them up into a little ball as best you can, because they do tend to like popping out of the side, and then close it. You have this ready to rock and roll again, and then you can just press it and they fling out. So the release mechanism, once it's in place, I'll just do one set of them because it's a little bit easier. So yeah, depending on which way you have it, as I said, it's probably best to have these in behind us, and then they're supposed to just pop out. So all in all, not a bad little set. Now unfortunately I'm not too sure how much these things are going for nowadays, as they are quite old. They're nearly, what, 1990s is at least nearly 30 years old. Well, I don't think they're quite there yet. Get this thing into, come on. Oh, close it up. Whoop. And get her missile back into her missile shooting thing. So overall, not too bad. They are quite old. They are dated. Articulation wise, they are fairly dated for what they are, but it is a really cool set. It was rare back then that you got like a 2-figure sort of 2-pack. I know the creature is fairly small compared to the regular creatures, but like the zombie set was pretty cool. They did reuse the zombie in the second wave. They just retooled it and they gave a cool zombie set with Hunk. So for the series 2 stuff, I don't have too many of the full sets. I have a couple of half sets. So I have the William Birkin figure. Unfortunately, I don't have Sherry Birkin, which is his daughter that you get in the set with him. I have the Ivy from the Ada Wong and Ivy set, and I have the Hunk, and I think he's just a zombie. I don't think he's Maggot Zombie, but he reuses parts from Maggot Zombie. And the other one is the Claire Redfield with the Zombie Cop set. So when I get around to doing those, we'll have a look at those and see how we go. But for now, kicking off these reviews with Jill. I'm not sure who I'll do next, or which character I'll do next, but I'm going to release these videos as hopefully over the next couple of days. And hopefully you'll enjoy this kind of nostalgia look at these old retro Toybiz Resident Evil figures. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was interesting and entertaining for you. And I suppose the only way, if you want to get these guys nowadays, unlike their modern interpretations, which there hasn't been any modern Resident Evil line in a while now. I think the last one was by a company called Moby Dick and NECA. But again, they haven't done anything Resident Evil wise figures in quite a while. And like the only place to get stuff now is really eBay, and some of those prices are quite inflated. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Cheers guys.